Hey everybody. Hey, it's Paul here. Hey, I just thought a little bit of maintenance here. I was actually trying to put this on, and before I put it on, I was just kind of walking around and looking and inspecting and making sure I put it all back together the right way, because I did do some work to it. Not too much, but so we have a drive shaft here, you can see, and that comes across the top, and it actually hooks up to that shaft there. There's the other end of it. And I have taken it apart because I was putting it together and then I completely forgot that I didn't check out that shaft. And what I do every year, once a year, is I take this out and clean it. Now this rubber piece here was actually completely full of junk, like packed right full. You couldn't even do this to it. So, and then this was all actually right full here too. Now it looks like I didn't grease it, but there's actually 2 grease nipples on this thing. Or 4. 2. There's 2 grease nipples on here. And some nice fresh grease in there, of course. But yes, so I took this off. And actually, if you do take these hose clamps off, there is a hole here. And you can just rotate the shield. And I believe there's a grease nipple in there. Just hold on. There it is there. Yes, there's a grease nipple in there. This one's kind of worn, so it might not be the best. You might have to replace it if you use it a lot. I'm just going to grease it up here. Put some lube on the inside of the shaft here and some on there. And then since I have this apart, I'm just going to double check everything. Let's see. While I have checked everything, I do check these bolts regularly. All of these here, of course, your little bolts here on your wedge bolts or whatever on the shafts here for the feed rolls. On one of our other machines, we actually had this setup here bend a little bit, and it just bent the bolts a bit, and it bent this plate just a little bit. So just kind of watch for that. What else? Check this bearing here, of course. Same with your lower feed rolls and upper and all that. Just check all your bearings. If you know how to do it, just go ahead and check them. Just take a bar on that side, onto the door side of the machine, and lift up and down a little bit for that bearing. Back roller is the same. No bearings on this side for the feed roller because they're in the gearbox here and here. Bearing right here. Bearing on that side. Very small little baby one. You can only check this one really though. The one on the inside you can't check unless you actually disassemble it. Check these bolts, make sure they're all tight. Look for cracks in this area here. In here and in here. Anywhere on the frame, like where your header mounts and stuff here. In here. Watch for wear on here. I see there's some wear on here. I might just weld this up just a little bit because there's actually quite a bit of wear here. Might explain a couple things for me. So I noticed one thing with the Claus Orbis corn header, and that would be when we put it on the machine, it was actually rubbing a little bit right here on the Orbis, right on the front of this gearbox. And I mean, there's no reason for it to do that. Maybe I gotta put a little spacer just to space the header forward an inch, or not an inch, but like a couple of millimeters or something, just a little bit. So, and I bet you, because this really isn't that wore here. And then there's a bolt here. I believe it's the head of it's right here on the inside. Back here. There. See that sunken in bolt? Just check it. Pardon me. There's 3 of them, I think, that hold that gearbox on. These 2 up here, check them as well. And the corresponding ones here as well, of course. This plate likes to crack here sometimes. This is a heavier one than our other machine, but our other one broke off. And then, where's the mother bolts here? Okay, yeah, then one right here. And one here. And make sure you check these fairly often. You can see here. So 1, 2, and 3. And then here too, while I'm in this area, you want to make sure that this cleaner right here, you can actually see there's a bolt here and a cleaner. It's like a little piece of metal that sticks down and turns. Hang on here. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not going to turn the bottom. feed rollers. But yeah, then that. And then just check your smooth roll scraper, that it's straight across. You can see this one's got a bit of wear here, but that's not a big deal. This is the heavy duty one. This is a good smooth roll scraper. And then some pieces along here. Watch these edges here. Oops. And here, the plates. And then a very important thing to look out for is actually here. So just let me grab my light here. And I'll show you these pieces. And I'll show you how they were worn. But there's two plastic pieces right here. Whoops. This black plastic piece right there with the nice brand new tag on it down there, you can see. Well, they were actually wore on the bottom, down below. And then also just make sure that those black spacer rings, there we go. You see the spacer ring with the round brown hole pointing straight at us. There's one on each side. Just make sure they're good. No twine wrapped in there. I found a little bit wrapped in on the one, just a bit. So I just took the spacer ring back a little bit and away we went. Okay, here's those pieces. Right here. And you can see the plastic was wore right through down to nothing. And it actually was starting to wear the metal here, as you can see. So that's what these black plastic piece looks like here. It's like this. And this would be the right hand side, so it would sit in the machine like this. Like this, and then our knives come down and go around like this and back up again. So this is a lot of high wear right here, because this right here is that bottom concave plate. Now here's another thing to look out for. I had this during corn season, so this rubber here has got some rips, and we'll go inside the machine. I'll show you where it comes from. And I can't do the adjustment right now till I get this front end on here. But this had some rips in it here, and what actually happened was, in behind here, in behind our whole sharpening cutter head setup right in front of the blower down there. So can I get you guys a picture down there? Hold on. This is a little difficult here. So down there, you see those 4 bolts down there? Well, those 4 bolts, and you can actually see the colored rubber there. Those are on an adjustment, and that rubber, was ripped, and it actually filled up with corn silage in here so much that it actually bent this plate right here. Oop, okay, let me get down here and I'll show you which plate. But that plate right there with the rubber on it, just this little plastic guard here right behind the sharpening door opening thing, actually bent up forwards a little bit from lifting the header up all the time, because this was right full in here. So we'll go inside the machine. Just give me a second here. Just hold on. Okay, we're in here. All right. And as you can see, sorry for the poor camera today. This is this plate here. It's actually a metal plate here, and then a piece of rubber, and it actually slides against here. This back plate on there, and there's your sharpener cylinder and stuff. But I gotta lift it up a little bit more to get so you can see light through there, right? Like that, that's no good. So I gotta lift it up, and then as per the book, your owner's manual will tell you the adjustment and specifications. So just make sure you follow that, and should be good. Yep. And then you can, since I got the blower open here, you can check your side plates on the blower on both sides. You can take a bar in this little hole here and just stick it all the way in. Watch your grease lines and stuff in there, and get it on the bottom of the shaft there. You can see the shaft. And you can lift. You can check your bearings that way. Pardon me if I'm a little bit crawling in here. And same on this side. You can do the same thing. Now if you have a corn processor, you have a smooth pulley down here, or it's not a smooth, but an idler pulley for your corn processor belt, check it. Even if you don't do corn. Because when bearings just sit there and don't move and they vibrate, you can actually wreck them like that. Bearings are not meant to take vibration without spinning or something like that. Because I've seen these things go out without even having to use corn. Well, they started rumbling, right? You could hear it. So at least once or twice a year, I'll spin that a little bit and just put a few shots of grease in it. There's actually a grease nipple right there for it under this shield. Yep. And then, yeah, there's some bolts like these ones that hold the plate on and stuff. They have like rounded heads and flat heads inside there. Check them as well, just to make sure none of the heads wear off. That happens in the sides of the spout up there. On the side plates inside the spout, the heads will wear off, and then all of a sudden you'll notice stuff leaking out the side of your spout, and you're wondering what's going on. Like here, this is everything that was inside that thing, and then there's some more there, and then some more stuff there yet too. So there actually was quite a bit of junk inside that shaft. So I'll just take a wire brush, probably clean it up, and clean up that side a bit. I can see there's still, we got some still awesome copper coat still on here yet, but it was very difficult to remove. Probably because it only moves so many inches back and forth, right? And then when you go to move past that, yeah, but it's always good to have that shaft moving back and forth nicely, and then it doesn't get stuck. Because then it'll put a lot of pressure on the bearings in that box and a lot of pressure in the bearings in that box every time the rollers go up and down. So just watch out for that. And then mouse nest warning. Up under the cab here, you have a little box right here. It's actually got like a little warning and stuff on it. And that box had a mouse nest. It's actually like a little hinge right here, and you can hinge it down. And where that box goes is right here inside the cab under your armrest, and that's just where the wires come from this here. This is our cutter head wiring harness here that comes down to our shear bar motors and sensors and all this good stuff, like these wires here, right? And all that stuff. Knox sensors down here on the back. So then that comes out of here, right here. You can see it comes out of the side. So when you take this apart and put it back together, you just make sure you watch. There's some plugs in there, looks like for extra wires and stuff. So just make sure those plugs go back the right way. They're like a little plug about a 1/2 inch long with like a round. They're round, of course, but on the end is like a little groove for like a little snap ring, looks like. And that actually fits into the shield when you close it up. You'll see when you take it apart in there, but just the way I noticed it is I had all of that apart and I was actually inspecting the fuse panel. You do that a couple times a year is you open that compartment and just look, make sure there's no mice in there. Check under your seat. Mice love to build nests down in there. It's a beautiful, cozy spot. There's lots of wires and plastic to chew on, and it can be a nightmare. We've had that once before in the past, and it took me over 12 hours to rewire the machine. It took me over 4 hours just to get it to start, and then everything else didn't work. So, yeah, they took out like 6 inches of wires in places, just gone. Wires, everything. Plastic, gone. So, pardon me, sorry. I think that's it. Make sure you just check. Give it a good once over. All your wearing and moving and rotating and parts and stuff. Same with your cutter head here. Now that I have it apart, well, I did already, but I just take this shield off here. Stick a bar under here, under the bottom of the belt. You could put a block of wood just to be safe. And then I put the bar on top of the axle, and you could put a rag or a piece of wood there if you don't want to scratch it. And you can lift on here, and you could check your bearings. And you could also probably check this brass bushing here. Because, of course, this housing rotates up and down. And the bearing spins. You got 2 points that it can move, right? This small, right where my finger is where it turns this piece up and down to lift and lower your header. And then the other part inside the middle is the bearing. So make sure when you check, if you see play, that you check that it's not that. Or it's the bearings, whichever, either or, if you know what I mean. And then check your shear bar motors here. Just make sure none of these things are broken. And I had one of these break off back here or here somewhere. I can't remember where it was, but one of these was broken down here. And then just make sure that these are tight up here and that these plastic things are decent. Something like that, yeah. Should be good. And then we have a cable here. You can see this little cable. This is a safety switch for that when we have our jaw open. Ow, darn it, there just went a fingernail. Ouch. Like this. Pulls on that cable. And then you can see here that it moves. When we got this machine, it was seized. So I just took this little rubber cap here. There's a rubber cap on here. Black. And just lifted it up and put WD-40 and just kept going back and forth, and I freed it up and it works perfect. So just once a year when I do my winter maintenance or summer maintenance and I have time and I remember, or if I have this front end off or something, I will just give this a few snorts of WD-40 or something, some sort of penetrating fluid, preferably for cables. So there you can see here, I'll grab my light, hold on. You can see it there. I actually pulled that. This plastic cap here. Sorry, I can't do two things at once, but that plastic cap there. Just pull it up. It sits on there like that. Come on, focus. So that's the cable. It goes down there and it goes through here and down to the bottom, down out here. And black plastic cap there as well. And another thing, I noticed this was busted here. This belt guard at the bottom here, underneath your header drive belt, if you have this still, was actually broken. Just a little crack right here. And I welded it up. So it was, yep. And this bolt here likes to break too. This one. And it has a spacer here. There's supposed to be a spacer here. You see this nice brand new spacer? That's supposed to be there. Yep. And what else can I tell you guys? That's about it, really. And I think that's it. I'm going to go put some stuff together here. Look at all the NECs. Ooh, I like it. That means I used it more than enough. Oh, now you can see it here. Haha, yes. You can see here where it swivels, right? That's right where it swivels, is right on that piece. This green piece swivels around that circular piece there, and there's brass bushings there. And then just make sure you also check, you see that little grease line and nipple there? That's a plastic grease line and nipple. And actually on our other machine, we had that nipple break off on there. So it got repaired. Oh, excuse me, it got repaired. But just make sure you check all that kind of stuff. The one on the driver's side here is really terrible to get into and see, because the driver's side, this thing on the driver's side is bigger, substantially, you know, like an inch or two, something like that, like an inch maybe, but it is bigger. So you can see, we can see this here, but if you go to the other side, you can't. You can just see the line, of course. And then also, these machines, one thing, I don't think it's a big deal, but when these machines are not running, right here, they have a little hydraulic cylinder right here. This is a hydraulic cylinder that when you start the machine, it squeezes and then tightens this. Don't ask, I don't know why it's like that. I really don't. The old machines had some wave washers and a set screw. This one's different. So I've noticed a couple times now when I've taken this apart, actually the boss took it apart, and it was full of junk in there, in the bottom. So just make sure it's kind of, if you do take all this apart, make sure that's clean, you know, etc. And if you're washing this machine after it sits for a while, don't just point right in there, because you'll blow water right in there. That's not good. You don't want to do that, because you can see one side of the hydraulic cylinder and the opposite side of the hydraulic cylinder. And to take it apart, you pull this nut off. And then there's an O-ring in there, and this is a cap, and it's quite the complicated setup. This newer style. This is a 498 series. Yep. I guess that's really it. This shaft here, of course, for the header up and down, I pull it out and move it in, but that's easy maintenance. That's not too bad. And then keep an eye on this box here. This box will leak sometimes down there, right on that shaft there. And like I said earlier, if you're missing this cleaner here, stuff can pack in there and start rubbing so bad, you'll actually get this hot enough that it'll burn up the little box seals in here, or piston seals they're called, that are in there. Yes. And of course your little very expensive $100 grease nipple there, you can see I'm pointing right at it, right there. That thing likes to break. In the book, they give you the lighter version one, but I put one of those in there. That's the heavy duty one. It's really hard to find the part number for it, but you will find it right here. And it's a lot easier to find this part number. Oh, hold on here. Hold on. Phone the right way, yeah. It's a lot easier to find that part number down there on the tie rod end than it is to find that one up there on the front. It is next to impossible to find that one on the front. But you can at least find that on the back axle on the steering is where you can find that style of nipple. It's really expensive, like really expensive. Normally they're kind of like this, just this piddly little one like this. And this one over here is a big heavy duty thing. It's a lot bigger and heavier, and it seems to last a little longer, but I mean, they are expensive. Can't believe how much they are worth. But I mean, that's all part of it, I guess. Don't. If you do take this apart, these are plastic. Do not grease the plastic ones. They go together dry. Because I take this roll pin here out when I have this apart, and I slide this pin out, clean it all up, and I put anti-seize on the pin. Just in through here, and that's it. But in here, these plastic things are supposed to be dry. If you have the brass ones, yes. Like in an old 494, yes. But in a 498 like this, no. And then of course down here, your two washers and nuts down here. These washers like to break after a few years because stuff comes in here. Juice, water, whatever, right? We're dealing with wet product. Gets in this hole, gets down in the bottom and sits on top of the washer and rusts it out. And then, I guess I should tell you guys this too. I found some very minute cracks here. Now, as you can see, marked and everything. But they were right. You can't even tell that the welder guy did such a good job. But basically right here where this round hole is, but down here behind the knife is where it was busted. And all three of them, by the way, and it's always where these spiders here, there's these spider things here. Let's see if I can find one here. I know everybody's going to be yelling at me for turning it like this, but where is it? It's got to be here somewhere. Here it is here. Okay, so there's the join, the split. There's three of these on here. And wherever it's joined, on the down side of the join is where it was broken, down here, behind the knife. And it had just a small crack, and it was on all three the same. So, and nowhere else, everywhere else on the knife drum was just fine. Now this has something to do, because you see extra holes here. When you take half the knives out, you're actually supposed to take these things and turn them. Your owner's manual will tell you that. But it's only on that side for some reason. And here, of course, right? You probably turn these a little bit so you get the right amount of space with half the knives in or something. I don't understand how it works. I just know that. So, and then behind here is your sharpener. Check your sides that it's clean. And also this thing here. Hold on. Grab my light. We had this thing either break off or fall out on us this year. Now, it's a little difficult to see here, but is that a good spot for the light? Okay, so you can see right there is the head of a bolt, and then there's actually under the head of that bolt, it is very difficult to see, is like, where is it? There's a little bracket and a little pin thing down there. You can't see it, but it's down there. And it needs to be there. Now what happens if you don't have that pin in there is your little catch, because this is the one that advances on this side of the machine. Over here is when the stone advances, not over at the far end like the old ones. So when this comes to this side, the little pin that's on that piece of metal down at the bottom actually moves this big black piece here, that the ratchet cog moves it out just a little bit first. And then the stone keeps coming this way, and then it catches into the groove of here and rotates it 1 click. But if you don't have that there, it'll actually go 2 clicks. And it'll, yeah. So if you do 400 passes, it's actually 800 then. So just make sure you check that piece is in there. Anything else here under the cab? That's really it. I'm sure I went over everything. Sometimes you'll see hoses right here, either rubbing here, these ones. Sometimes they'll rub on here, or they'll rub on the side here. And also, right here, you have this piece here comes down and goes down. Well, on one of our machines, when you lift and lower the header, they put this wire right here. And that wire actually bent this a little bit. Just the way it was, I don't know, something must have got in there or whatever, but it was fine. So, and then there was a crack on one of our other machines, this little piece of tin here. And then I think it was up here too a little bit, or one of the 2 sides. So just whenever I have this apart, I check everything. Every weld, everything. It's a very delicate machine. And like I say, when I took this apart, these weren't loose. Thought maybe that's why, no, tight, like tight. But you could see evidence of movement a little bit in here on the sides. So I don't know what that's all about. Oh, check these. Big giant bolts that hold these pulleys on here. On both sides. This one and this one. Make sure you check them at least once or twice a year, because there's so much torque in this thing. This thing's almost 900 horsepower. Somewhere around there. So can you imagine all that horsepower through all of this? That's got to be good. I got to get my butt in gear and get this back together here. So, I think that should be good. Might not be a bad thing to open this. I might actually do that. And just check and make sure everything in there moves nicely. This is the rock stopper. So this is the Claus's rock stopper. So maybe I might just open it and just check it. And then check the seal, make sure it's sealed good, and all that. I would check like even these little bolts here and here, everything. Just make sure everything is all good. There's a little roller back here, behind here. Now where did I put that? Oh, here. There's a little roller down way in the back there. You can see it fits. You can't see the darn thing because there it is there. It's in between those 2 pieces of metal that go left and right. You can see it's shiny and silver there. If you look in there, you can actually see it. It's a bolt sticking off this gearbox to the inside with a roller, and that roller moves. There's a little plate here that it moves in a slide. Hell, here's that roller right here. So here's this roller right here. Make sure you check it once in a while. It won't go out very often. Maybe once in the lifetime of the machine you might have to replace it. And I think it's the same roller as the center of the pickup on a 3.8 meter pickup. Okay, that's gotta be enough. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. have a great day.